Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I would like to take a look at the many Meganiums and Typhlosions of GLC. So what is GLC, for those of you who don't know? Well, it's a single prize only, no rule box format. It is singleton, except for basic energy, because of course that would be very painful if it was just one copy of every basic energy. But yeah, singleton for the most part. And you're only allowed one type per deck. So even if you're a huge fan of Typhlosion and Meganium, just like me, sadly, you can't play both of them in the same deck. Bit of a shame, but we can hope that maybe one day Pokemon will release like a special set that just has a load of popular Pokemon, but with like switched up typing, which I think would be really fun to see, and would definitely help GLC, have all these unique typings basically. But yeah, only one type per deck for now. So as for the basics, honestly, nothing too crazy here, like the attacks are not screaming anything great or surprising, but 70 HP and retreat cost of 1 is really nice to see for both of these. Just means, of course, you can exploit Buddy Buddy Poffin a bit better, so yeah, kind of aiming for 70 HP and retreat cost of 1 for evolving basics. So yeah, pretty good. As for some stage 1s, I think Quilava definitely wins out here, like Mini Eruption has somewhat decent synergy actually with one or two of the Typhlosions, which is nice. And then Quilava is alright, like the one on the left here. Still 90 HP is decent though because of level ball. As for Bayleaf, like you could go for the guaranteed sleep condition with a soothing scent, but at the same time it has 10 more HP than the other one, so you won't be able to use things like level ball, which is kind of a shame. And I know grass types have a ton of Pokemon search already, so maybe you don't care about that. But if you are running level ball in your grass deck, you may as well play the 90 HP Bayleaf. So those are the stage 1s. As for the first Meganium here, it does have the very interesting and unique ability Overgrow, which says if his Pokemon's remaining HP is 50 or less, so it has to take 100 damage before this activates. Its attacks do 70 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, which is a very strong ability, really. And the attack Green Force does 50 damage, and you get to heal from this Pokemon the same amount of damage you did to your opponent's active. So, if you were to use things like Luxurious Cape, for example, you could get a lot more HP, so 250. And then at that point, you could tank a 200 damage attack, really, which is really cool. You could actually tank a Wailord, actually. Yeah, you could take 240, right? So I think Meganium is at least a bit more interesting than the others. Of course, like the damage isn't great, and as soon as you heal enough, you'll be doing less damage, so it's a bit awkward. So it's kind of in this weird spot where you need to like survive these massive attacks, but also like not deal too much damage, but also obviously like you want to deal damage and take prizes. But it's a bit of a weird card to talk about, but it is a lot of fun. And you can boost the damage with things like Lurantis or like the more recently the Lilligant, which also has the Sunny Day ability. So plenty of options for improving damage. It's just like the ability kind of means that Meganium will have to survive a hit to actually use its attack. But kind of an interesting card though to talk about. Then we have the one from Breakthrough. It's going to be a Typhlosion with Massive Eruption. Quite a fun deck back in the day actually. Discard the top 5 cards of your deck and you do 80 damage times the number of energy cards that you discarded in this way. So definitely has synergy with other similar attackers, like Infernape, which is basically just the exact same attack. Also got things like this Camerupt over here, which I thought was worth mentioning. It's kind of the same attack, but it's just for 2 energy. It's also on a stage 1. It only has 10 less HP actually, so it's kind of bulky. And you can also discard the top card of your opponent's deck as well to potentially do a bit more damage. So, nice synergy there if you want to build a deck around this. Also got things like Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking, as well as Academy at Night to fiddle the top deck. You could also use things like Rotom Phone, I guess, and or the Arceus Phone. So, you got plenty of options to do this. So, yeah, seems quite fun, to be honest. And you only need, like, 2 energy to KO quite a lot of Pokemon as well. 3 for, like, all the bigger ones, really. But, yeah, 1 or 2 energy, really, for the early game. So, quite a nice card overall. Then we have a one from, the Sun and Moon era. It's a Sun and Moon promo. Definitely not as strong or as interesting as some of the other cards in this video, but Exploder can be kind of useful. Basically, search your deck for up to 3 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. So I figured you probably just want to pair this up with attackers that need a ton of energy anyway. So this Heatmore did spring to mind, Exciting Flame doing 90 damage. And if it has 3 extra energy attached to it, you also do 180 damage snipe to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I'm aware there's like a better Heatmore deck out there that uses like Volcanion and Welder and Magma Base and all that kind of stuff. But if you did really, really like Typhlosion, right, and you really wanted to play it, then I think there's like a decent argument you can make this work. Like, It just depends. Like, do you actually want to make room for a Typhlosion in this Seymour deck? But maybe it does open the door for some more interesting Pokemon as well. But yeah, I thought this was worth mentioning. Then we have the Meganium from Lost Thunder. Meganium has a pattern of getting really interesting cards. It's just a shame that there's hardly any of them. But yeah, it has the ability Quick Ripening Herb. Once you're in your turn, before you attack, you may use this ability. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play, and if you have a Stage 2 card in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, you basically just get to put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. You can also use this ability during your first turn or on a Pokemon that was put into play this turn, which is really interesting. You don't have to wait a turn like Rare Candy, for example, because this ability is Rare Candy. But say you just want to play a Poffin or something and find a basic, you could then just immediately use Quick Ripening Herb to evolve that Pokemon into something like Blossom, for example, if it was an Oddish. So, quite cool options. Means you can run a lot of flavorsome Stage 2s like Ludicolo or Blossom, for example. I think Ludicolo is an interesting one. But yeah, overall though, you do need to play a lot of Stage 2s. It is singleton, things can go wrong, it can get very clunky very quickly. So it could be a bit of a problem, but if you fancied a really fun grass Stage 2 box, then I think Meganium would be a good place to start, really. And then next up is we have a Typhlosion from Lost Thunder. It has the interesting ability Blazing Energy, which says once in your turn, you may use this ability and all energy attached to your Pokemon are fire energy instead of their usual type. So it's an interesting effect. So if we ever, for example, get a supporter in the future that's really, really good for just accelerating a different kind of energy, or a stadium that can accelerate a lot of energy, these weird effects where if you can accelerate a lot of a certain basic energy, then blazing energy could be a good effect, because then of course you can just change all that energy into fire type. And then Lost Flame for a whopping 4 energy does 120, and you get to put 2 energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon in the Lost Zone. So quite a devastating effect, especially against things like Wailord, and you do 2-shot all the biggest Pokemon as well. So Lost Flame's quite nice, but yeah, I think the ability is interesting. It just kind of relies on there being really good energy acceleration outside of Emboar and Welder, for example. So, something worth considering maybe. Then we also have the one from Destined Rivals, and even though this card is pretty good in Standard, it's definitely not very good in GLC, sadly, which is, a bit of a shame, but Buddy Blast, of course, being a victim of the whole singleton rule, so you'll only ever be able to do 100 damage, and you can only run one copy of Ethan's Adventure in your deck as well to make things even more awkward. But if you really, really liked Ethan and you really wanted to do a deck here, I guess there is enough pieces like Ethan's Adventure plus a Typhlosion plus Magcargo, plus you probably have to run Emboar as well actually to accelerate some energy to Magcargo. But I think there is maybe still a deck here. It's just not a very good one, shall we say. Buddy Blast, 100 for a single energy is kind of efficient, but it's just not doing enough damage in GLC really. So, and Steam Artillery is not brilliant. So it's not the worst thing ever. There's definitely way worse cards out there, but yeah, nothing too crazy here. But yeah, thanks for watching. I do a new set review for GLC with each new release, so do subscribe if you're interested in being updated. This is a series to stay, so let me know which Pokemon you would like to see. There is a list, we're getting through them, and a playlist has been made. And yes, I will eventually cover Lapras and Mewtwo at some point. But yeah, if you want to dive into the competitive side of the format, Omnipoke and the format creator Tricky Jim have both done fantastic videos and guides for each type, and they've also covered the ban list and stuff. So yeah, this has been Ember Power. Let me know what you think down below, and yeah, thank you for watching.